Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the difference between small businesses and big businesses and what you can learn from the mentality of a big business, right? I've dealt with both small businesses and big businesses. Um, Businesses, let's say, quote, are quote unquote family owned, and then businesses that are basically owned by large corporations. And one of the things that I really found fascinating is like, wow, there's a lot to learn from the structure of your big businesses that I think that would help a lot of small businesses and entrepreneurs. And there's a book from the 90s called The E-Myth, right? It's called The Entrepreneur Myth. Um, Written by Michael Gerber, says the E-Myth, why most small businesses don't work and what to do about it, right? So I don't want to give a summary of it, but I will let ChatGPT do that. So if you take a look here, I asked ChatGPT, can you summarize the Michael Gerber's The E-Myth? And let's go ahead and read it out loud.
Michael Gerber's The E-Myth Revisited is a foundational business book that explores why so many small businesses fail and provides a roadmap to overcome common pitfalls. Gerber introduces the idea of the E-Myth, or the entrepreneurial myth, which is the mistaken belief that anyone who understands a technical skill can successfully run a business based on it. The book divides entrepreneurs into three personalities. One, the technician, focused on doing the work, e.g., a baker who loves baking. Two, the manager, organized and orderly, handling planning and systems. And three, the entrepreneur, the visionary, constantly looking to innovate and improve. According to Gerber, most small businesses are founded by people acting mainly as technicians who get entrepreneurial seizures or the urge to start a business out of their passion. However, to grow a successful business, it's essential to integrate the roles of manager and entrepreneur alongside the technician. Gerber emphasizes creating systems, viewing your business as if it were a franchise prototype that can run without you. By establishing repeatable processes, a business can become scalable and sustainable. He also outlines a framework called the business development process, which includes envisioning the business's ultimate goal, setting standards, and documenting operations to ensure consistency. The core message is that building a successful business means working on your business, not just in it. This shift enables business owners to move away from the grind of daily tasks and into a role where they can focus on growth and vision.
Right, and that's something that is this is a very valuable lesson because what happens with a lot of people is you ever notice that the average person is always trying to show you how smart they are and how good that they are at something, which means that they would fit in this category of the technician focused on doing the work, aka the baker who loves baking, rather than trying to create a bakery business. Now, one of the other things that we can learn from this is to understand the concept of a system oriented business, right? So, what is the difference between most small business and a large system oriented business? Is that if in a small business the owner steps away for a week or a month, the business is going to collapse, okay? Whereas in a large system oriented business, kind of like McDonald's, if you're not dependent on one single person, okay? So if let's say one person like the general manager or the cashier steps away, you can easily replace that person with somebody else in a system oriented business. And this is the biggest difference between a small business and a big business. Now I'll tell you another difference between people who have the technician mindset, aka the small business mindset, versus large corporations. This is just from my own personal experience, is that people who are starting out in life and don't know what they're doing are really focused on doing everything themselves. And let me tell you something, anybody who's focused on doing everything yourself is going to lead to being burned out and tired, right? We only have so many hours in a day. Business is not a individual sport, it is a team sport, and it's not based on how you as the owner or individual good at are good at what it is that you're trying to sell, right? It's not like if you're running a bakery, it's not based on how good of a baker you are. Okay. And so one of the things I've noticed with the very, very, very big businesses of the world is they actually love paying other people for help, right? And another thing I've noticed with people who are not involved in big businesses is that um, they despise paying for help, right? So many times I've seen this where it's like, okay, I will help you, please pay me, and then we'll see where it goes, right? And here's the thing: I don't need your money, right? But the reason that I ask for money is because there's a concept called skin in the game. And so the more money you pay me, right, the more skin you have in the game. Kind of like with real estate deals, the more like down payment that you have, well, that means the more serious you are about doing the deal. Makes sense, right? And so let me just ask ChatGPT this, right? So how much can you quickly estimate how much you think Bank of America spends on external vendors and consultants, right? Okay. So, if we just take a look at this, Bank of America's annual operating expenses have been reported as follows: 59 billion, 84 billion, 143, 163. Um, So Bank of America selling general and administrative expenses were about to be 70 billion, right? So large businesses love to spend money on outside help because they know that business is a team sport and not how good you are as an individual or an owner, right? And so sometimes I talk to you all and I really want to help you, but I honestly get really disappointed because sometimes some of you are trying to show me how smart you are, and I'm thinking that's the wrong mentality. That's literally the wrong mentality. Okay? So if you're a small business, you're trying to quote save money, but when you save money and at the same time ironically trying to ask for help and not pay other people, um, people won't pick up your phone call. Whereas, let's say, you have a big business, right? A big business, and look at how, would you be willing to spend like 70 billion to achieve your goals and means with people who are not in your field or your company, right? Most people wouldn't because your average individual, and this is why I think like large businesses stay successful even though there's a lot of inefficiencies within them, is that your average individual despises getting help from other people. Like, you ever notice that? And I think one of the reasons why, and I remember reading this from a Robert Kiyosaki book, is that cooperation is considered to be cheating in school. So one of the things I like to talk about is that how school actually instills a lot of bad habits within the general population. And sometimes what the general population does, um, it actually benefits a lot of the major corporations because the bad habits almost make sure that they can't compete with the large corporations, if that makes sense. So, for example, as an individual, if I've been brainwashed by the school system about that I have to be the smartest person, the smartest individual, and that I need to do the best work out of all my team, which is not a bad thing, right? Like I probably would still like to be that. Um, I'm not going to really ask for help, and I'm going to despise other people for paying them and doing work for me. You see how that works? And one of the things that I've noticed about large corporations is they're kind of the opposite. In fact, if you ever like dealt with these large corporations, they pay a lot of money for mediocre work. They pay a lot of money for mediocre work, which is crazy, right? Like, so within that $70 billion, let's say, vendor and consultant budget, what do you think? Do you think the vast majority of the people that they hire, like the cream of the crop, are just like good enough? Like, let's be honest, right? They're probably good enough because most people are not like the cream of the crop. Okay? But a corporation like Bank of America or even McDonald's, let's just change this just to say McDonald's, right? How much do you think McDonald's, whoopsie, McDonald's spends on external vendors and consultants? Multi-billion dollar investment, right? So again, it's in the billions of dollars that they spend in getting help from other people. Now, would you spend $1 billion to get help from other people? Well, if I'm at the level of McDonald's, heck yeah, I would, right? But would you? Most people wouldn't because they're trying to save money and they think they have to be the smartest person in the business and they're trying to do it all, which is why I know that I'm not going to deal with most of the people that who get into my Zoom calls because I can already tell their mindset. They're trying to save money and then they're wondering why they get nowhere. Okay, well, if that's the game you want to play, I'm just going to sit on my behind and then just make videos over and over again and over because I don't need anybody's money. Which is the sad part too. Like people always do this thing where like and I've only noticed this with like people who don't make that much money, right? So they always do this thing like they think for some reason they're the only buyer out there in the marketplace. Like I remember, and this is kind of like a old me telling another old story, when I had a renter who was like trying to get a $200 discount on my property, and then he was like, "Well, look at all these issues," and then like he got angry at why I wouldn't rent to him because he wanted a $200 discount on the property, and the market rent is the market rent, right? And then next week somebody called like, "I'll pay a year's worth of rent," and I'm like, "Good, done, we're done," right? But large corporations, I'm telling you, like they don't really like. I guess maybe they play that game to a certain aspect in other ways, but when it comes to like building their infrastructure and you know, um, let's say building their team, they spend the money. They spend the money. I mean, if you're running McDonald's, are you going to try to save money, or are you going to just spend the billions of dollars that you need to from outside help to run the business? Most people wouldn't. Even if they inherited McDonald's, most people wouldn't. They think there's something wrong with them. And this is why books like The E Myth are really popular in entrepreneurship circles because you have to get rid of the notion that you have to be the most skilled and talented person in your business. You're not going to be. I am not the most skilled and talented. And even if you're a, let's say, a team of one, right? You got to build a business or build a structure where you're actually replaceable. Like me, I'm actually replaceable with this whole YouTube channel because you don't know who I am. The person talking to you doesn't necessarily have to be Korean because I don't show my face, or be in Atlanta. You know, I could be in California, and maybe I am right now. But but and I have a system, right? Clickbait video, just put something on ChatGPT, talk, talk, talk for a couple of minutes. And so if I step away and I replaced myself with somebody else, that would be relatively easy. But most people cannot do that in their business because their business is, or actually, small business is based on purely technical skill, right? And you need to create a system oriented business. And not only that, you have to get outside help, right? Business is a team sport. It's not an individual. Uh, I don't even know. Is there such thing as an individual sport? I guess there is. It's not like you running um, track on the Olympics just by yourself, right? It's a team sport. You need other people's help. But most people, I'm going to tell you this, and this is why a lot of people fail. Try to save money rather than spending the money and getting the help that they need, right? And if you don't like know why I'm making this videos, is because I think I was actually really surprised that over the Zoom calls I just met so many people who are almost like offended or shocked that I'm going to try to sell them something. But you know, if you don't sell them, you can't serve them. And here's the thing: if nobody wants to buy from me, I always have like contingency plans. So if you want to know something about like me, I actually don't need money, believe it or not, and the banks know that too, right? Like who's the one who's going to financially probe me to figure out if they're going to lend to me or not? It's the banks. And so if you take a look at this, I just stare at my cell phone all day. Well, if nobody wants to buy what I'm selling, well, banks know that I don't need money, so they're just willing to lend it to me, which is kind of sad because I really want to help people, but most people don't have the mindset in which they can be helped because they're basically uh, stuck in the technician's mindset. Hopefully that makes sense. And let me just, yeah, let me actually ask ChatGPT, can you give me a round number figure? 16 billion, interesting. 16 billion from its supply chain operations alone, 1 to 3 billion in advisory tech consulting. 1 to 3 billion, right? So, I'm telling you, most people they don't think about this. They're always trying to save money. Whereas big businesses, and I'm not saying you have to be a big business, but there's so much you can learn from them and apply it even into a small business, right? So much you can learn from them. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense. And the whole point of this video is that large businesses, what makes them different from the average individual is they're not afraid to ask for help. They're not afraid to ask for help and they're willing to pay for it. Your average individual, especially your broke average individual, despises help and want to do everything themselves and doesn't want to pay for anything. Okay? So again, I'm trying to brainwash you all to pay me, but not only pay me, pay all of your vendors, right? Pay all your contractors, pay all of your, um, what else is there? I don't know. Contractors, uh, consultants, um, everybody, pay everybody. But too many people are like, I'm not going to pay and save money. And then they'll tell me like they're broke and then they don't make the connection between the two, right? Like there's a, you have to make a connection. There's a reason why the larger business is succeeding. And if you're broke, one of the easiest ways to get out of being broke is ask for help. And I get it. I don't probably don't want to help you, but you still need to ask for it. And I'm saying this as a person who used to make $20,000 a year, right? Remember that? I keep saying that over and over again. And now that I got out of it, yes, I do want to help people, but I only want to help people who are worthy of it. And if nobody wants my help or nobody wants to pay me, again, I'll just stare at my cell phone and look at how much money I have access to and how the bank is in me validating my ego that I don't need money, right? Okay, well, that's it, everybody. Have a great day, and we will speak next time. It's Crane Atlanta Mentorship.